I love how when the calendar says it's fall, that Mother Nature just starts falling. It's as if by magic, as soon as the season changes, then the cool, crisp mornings happen and the sprinkly rains start falling and the leaves start falling off of the trees. This is the magic of Mother Nature, my friends. And I want us to always be looking at this in amazement and awe and wonder of how perfectly in sync and alignment and balanced everything is. One thing synergistically plays off another thing. No one thing stands alone in nature. Everything is connected. And we are part of that. We are a part of nature. And so we are connected to all of this. And our bodies are not just one singular thing. Our bodies are nature and connected to everyone and everything around us. Now, this isn't what I wanted to talk about on the podcast, but as I was recording, as soon as I hit record, I was just looking out the window thinking, oh my gosh, it is just the perfect fall day today. And it just happens to be the beginning of fall. It's just, everything comes together. And I got distracted by Mother Nature, which is a good thing. But today I want to take you down memory lane. I want to take you on a little adventure of the mind. Think back to when you were 16 years old. What happened the day that you turned 16? Like, what exactly happened? I know for me, I woke up super excited and I went and got my mom and it's like, it's time, let's go. And we went down and we got my learner's license. And I'm pretty sure that if you are listening to this, you know what I'm talking about, and you probably did the same thing. Like, you could not wait until you turned 16 so that you could get your learner's driver's license. And then a mere 30 days later, you were ready to get your regular driver's license. Now, mine took a little longer. Here's why. My mom taught me how to drive, and my mom had a standard. It was a Volkswagen Rabbit. So it was diesel and it would shake a lot because it was diesel, but it was a standard. And I didn't know anything about cars at all. So when my mom was teaching me how to drive, it was from scratch. At least with my brothers, I have two older brothers, they understand. They were fixing cars. Like, they understood how it worked. I had no clue. And so my mom deserves a medal, first of all, for being brave enough to teach me, and then her patience to actually teach me. And I had fun with it, actually. I really enjoyed it. But I also grew up and lived in a city where everything was a hill. So I got really, really good at starting and stopping on a hill because I lived on a hill, for crying out loud. Like, everywhere I turned, there was a hill. So it was a really good learning experience. When I taught my oldest son how to drive, I live in a city that doesn't have a lot of hills. So he used to go out in the middle of the night because he was a night owl, or is still a night owl. And so he would practice starting and stopping on hills in the middle of the night when nobody was around. That way he didn't have the pressure of other cars or people watching him or holding up traffic or anything like that. But I definitely learned really quickly because it was do or die and the hills were very steep. So there was that. And I took a little bit longer because I was coming back from the States with my mom in our little Rabbit. And there's this bridge that you have to go across. And it is called the Patella Bridge. If you live in the area, you know what I'm talking about. It is actually they're in the process of replacing it right now. So it's really, really old and it's very, very narrow. It's 2 lanes each way, but I'm telling you, my friends, these lanes are super duper ooper narrow lanes, and you're on a bridge and there's a sidewalk. So as we were coming up to this bridge, my mom was like, okay, pull over and I'm going to drive across the bridge. And I'm like, no, Mom, I'm good. I got this. And she's like, pull over. I'm like, no, I got it. And I just drove over the bridge and I was all excited. Like, when I look back, I'm like, well, good for me, because I guess I wasn't nervous or anything. Like, here's how you learn how to do something. And my mom, who is the most kind, patient, loving human being in the whole wide world, was not happy about this. And so, because I didn't listen, she said, no more driving for you. And that's why it took me longer too before I could take my driver's license test, because she was mad because I didn't listen. And I had to wait until she got over it. And then we went for my actual driver's license test. And I got it first try, which was really good because, again, I was driving a standard and parallel parking and all that fun stuff. But my mom had to remind me of that story, which is so funny because she rarely gets upset. So she must have been really pissed off that I didn't listen. I don't remember this at all, but it sounds like something I would do. So anyway, and back when I was 16, it was literally 30 days and then you could go take your driver's test. And I remember being super nervous when I was actually taking the driver's test. And after I passed the test, I remember this thought as clear as day. I will never forget this. I thought to myself, if I can do that, like if I can take a test stopping and starting on hills and parallel parking with somebody who I don't even know, and back in the day, they weren't super friendly and they're marking you and all that. If I can do this and pass this test, and after only, 30 days or 60 days of not even knowing how a car operates, I didn't know how to turn it on or which was gas, I didn't know anything. And if I can pass this test under this extreme pressure, because I found it high pressure, then I can do anything. So I was really jacked after passing this test because I thought in my lifetime, there's nothing that's going to be more stressful and harder than this. And I will always tell myself, hey, girl, remember, if you could do that, you could do anything. So I don't know how your driver's test was, or, who taught you, or if you had to take it more than once. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that you were super scared and very stressed when you were taking it. And that's normal. But it was such a huge accomplishment for me that I literally thought, if I can do that, I can do anything, which is a wonderful feeling to have. And so I took that forward with me. And anytime I was scared, I would say to myself, but wait, you passed your driver's test. Girl, you got this. You can do this. This is nothing. This is easy compared to that. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because once you get your driver's license, then you get to drive the car by yourself. And this is the ultimate freedom. There is nothing more liberating and free than getting into the car without having to take your mom with you. It was my mom. My dad never took me, or my brothers never took me, so it was always my mom. So the very first time that I got in the car alone, I felt so free, so grown up. I thought anything is possible. I could go anywhere. I could do anything. I'm like a real grown up person now. I just remember that sense of freedom. And it must feel like that for the kids these days because their L lasts for a year. So that is a long time to have to be driving with your mom. But the reason I am bringing all this up is that sense of freedom where you've passed your test and you're like, Mom, can I borrow the car? And she's like, yep, go have fun. And you're like, oh my gosh, I get to go by myself. I get to operate this car by myself and drive anywhere I want. Go pick up my friends, go here, go do anything that I want. It was so liberating. Such a sense of freedom. And I really honestly feel like midlife is like that. But there's a sweet spot. So right now I'm in that sweet spot, because my kids are old enough to take care of themselves. They're independent. And my parents, God love them, my mom, my dad, my mom who taught me how to drive, who gave me that freedom, they are also independent. So right now, I feel like that 16-year-old girl who just passed her driver's license and now has the freedom to go anywhere, to do anything. And I wanted to give you this idea or this visual because that is what's possible for you. And if you're not at that phase, like maybe your kids aren't quite independent, then know it's coming. It's going to happen. And if maybe your parents aren't independent anymore, know that it's going to happen. The stars will align where you will get this again. This will all line up where you're having this time in your life where you can go and do anything and feel the freedom of not being responsible. Because I know the second my kids were born, not only was I dipped in a vat of guilt, not because of them or anything, that's just society, that's just a woman thing, a mom thing. But the sense of responsibility has always been paramount, top of the list for anything that I do. It's always like, oh, I'm going to take care of these humans. Okay, there goes like the Julie McCoy, the one who does all the fun stuff and the organizer of all the activities and all that. It was like that became my sole focus and priority, was being responsible for the wellness of these two beautiful human beings that I created and brought into the world. And somewhere in there, you're going to have your time where you have that freedom to be and whoever you want to do. You can always be whoever you want, but to go and not have to check with anybody, not to have to take care of anybody, to be able to just be like, I want to do this, I'm going to go do this. Not I want to go do this and like, who's going to look after, who's going to do this, who's going to do that? No. So there's going to be this time when you have this freedom. And I want to make sure that you're ready for it. You are ready, meaning you know exactly what you're going to do with this when this time comes. And it will come. It's different for everybody how it figures itself out, but you will have this time. So how are you going to be ready for when the time comes? And by ready, I mean, you know exactly what you're going to do. You know all the things that you have this list and you're like, here's next. Here's the next thing. Here's the next thing. I remember when my kids were little and they would go to my mom and dad's for a sleepover, I had to have a list prepared ahead of time of all the things I was going to do, because if not, I would just not do anything. And I'd be like, damn, I just wasted that me time. So it's kind of the same idea. How can you plan so that when your time comes, you know exactly what you're going to do, so you don't waste any time trying to figure it out? I don't know. I have all this time. I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed with trying to pick one thought or one idea. So you want to plan ahead of time. How can you do that? Write down all of these ideas. If I had all the time in the world and wasn't responsible for anybody at all and could do anything I wanted to, what would I do? Oh, write them down. Just write it all down on a list and then go through it again and just circle, your top 5. And then from those 5, which one would bring you the most joy? Which one would make the biggest difference in your life? And there's your answer. Start there. And start getting everything into place so that that's possible for when that happens. So if it's going traveling, then get all your travel stuff up to date. Make sure you have your passport. Save money for it. Know where you're going. Look at the flights. Where do I want to stay? Is it Airbnb? Am I going to travel around or just stay in one spot? Is somebody coming with me? Because let's get them on board. All of those things. So when the time comes, boom, you are ready to go. Your bag is packed and you're like, let's go. And then you don't have these excuses, because a lot of the times what happens is we have this big dream or this big goal or this big idea. And then if we get overwhelmed, even in the slightest, we'll just be like, oh, I just won't do it then. It's just easier not to. The fear becomes the straw that broke the camel's back. That's just like, oh, it's just too much. No, I can't do it. So what do you need to put into place to have this happen? Where can you find that opening for yourself, that freedom? How can you be proactive in creating that for yourself? Even if it's just for a short period of time. Maybe you are looking after aging parents and they do need your help. Is it possible that you could find a small window of opportunity where you can go and do one little thing on your list, because that's what keeps you going. That's what makes it easier to help your aging parents or to look after your kids that haven't quite become totally independent of you. How can you take these small little breaks and create some magic for yourself? Because we don't want to be 70 or 80 when finally we're like, okay, now it's my time, because we don't have this awesome body that's capable of doing all the things. I mean, I hope I can still play tennis and surf when I'm 80, but I don't know. I'm not going to bank on it. So I'm going to get all that stuff in now while my body is like, let's go. This is the perfect time, because our body is still capable of all of these things. So what would that look like for you? Dream big, really big, and then just make your list. So have everything in that. And then how could I do a small version of something right now so I don't have to wait until, because we'll always keep putting it off. It's the when then game. The when. Oh, when I achieve this, then I'll be happy. Oh, we want to flip it around and go, I'm happy, so I'm going to, put my health and happiness first. I'm going to do something for myself. So many people put it off, and then it's too late, and then they never do it. Remember, when we're on our deathbed, the biggest regrets are never something we did do. The biggest regrets are what we didn't do. We don't want that to be us. I saw this saying or this expression where, when it's my time, I don't want to come up to the gates or whatever your belief is and be like perfectly intact and nice and clean and neat. I want to be ripping in, sliding in, rolling full of dirt and cuts and bruises everywhere, going, whoa, what a ride. Like, that's what I want. I want to live life to the fullest, because that's what it's all about. And I want to invite you to start to question everything. All of the things that you thought you knew and thought you believed, get curious about them and be like, is that true? Do I really believe that? What do I want to believe instead? What could I believe instead? What speaks to me instead? What excites me instead? And because you can change any of that at any time. And this is your time. Question all of it. Because you will get that opportunity to be like, whoa, this is my I'm a new driver moment where nobody's in the car with you, and you're going and you've become a human that is like independent and free, and you can just go do all the things that you want to do and be the person that you want to be. This is that moment. And if you can't fully do that because of the kids or because of the parents, find small breaks where you can do that. Because if you take good care of your mental health and your physical health and well-being, everybody around you benefits. Everybody. Nobody benefits from you denying yourself happiness and putting pressure on yourself and feeling full of guilt and stress. Nobody. So my invitation is to get excited about what's possible. If the sky is the limit, which it is, there is no limit actually. What are you going to create for yourself in midlife? If this is your time, which it is, how are you going to show up for yourself and have your own back to make sure that you slide in full of bruises and dirt and screaming, woohoo, what a ride. Because this, right here, right now, it's your time. Thank you for listening. Always, always, always love yourself first and have an amazing day.